Hello and welcome to the 2023 Pokemon TCG World Championships in Yokohama, Japan. I'm Jake. This is Sean in the casters that revolve around the evolving Pokemon meta. We're actually here in our offices over in the States because we are watching the actual stream. But Sean, how excited are you to start doing some commentary of the Pokemon TCG World Championships?
Oh, boy, howdy. I'm very excited. Yeah, we got a whole new layout in our recording stuff for y'all guys. Let us know how this feels. This is the first time that Jake and I are doing this with the new rules. Hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully we enjoy it, and we'll hopefully be bringing you more. But yeah, I'm excited to see what this first match has in store. Speaking of what the first match might have in store, they did show a graphic, Jake, of all the different decks that are being played for day one. Important to note, as we mentioned on the last podcast, that day one is not what the rest of the meta for the World Championships might be, because you can change your deck after day one if you get to day two. But the most played deck, Jake, what was that for day one?
The most played deck, 102 different people playing this archetype, Lugia VSTAR. Sean, I know on the Metapod podcast, we did not consider Lugia to be the most played deck coming into day one. So this is going to be very, very exciting potentially in this day one. Maybe there's something cooked up in Lugia that a lot of top players have figured out that maybe the rest of the world doesn't know about. Second place with 98 decks, so just behind is Gardevoir EX. Totally predictable. Gardevoir has been dominant in popularity and a very good deck overall. One of our S tier decks we consider in the meta right now. 92 decks and 13% of the meta. Lost Zone Giratina V-Star, same 13%, but 86 decks. Lost Box, not any sort of specific Lost Box variant, whether that's Sablezard or maybe you're cheeky and got the Zamazenta or the traditional Kyogre or Turbo Dragonite. That's not specified, so it's just all Lost Box decks, which actually with all Lost Box decks, Sean, that's kind of low in my opinion, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think it's a day one thing, right? You don't want to end up in too many ties. You got to get out of day one. I know we talked about, Gardevoir being a big tie engine. Lots of people tie. You can get into a ton of ties with Lost Box too. So I think people are going to hold off on that in large numbers for day two and on. So
rounding out the top 5 decks in day one in terms of popularity at 10%, 67 decks, it's Arceus V-Star, Giratina V-Star, Sean's pick to win the World Championships. My pick is Kyogre, Lost Box, but we're not going to feature either of those decks in round one because round one is just about to get underway. It is Andre Scuball, the 2022 World Champion in the Masters division, against Andre Flores. Andre Scuball to the left, if you're looking at the screen, is going to be playing Lost Zone Giratina V-Star, and Andre Flores is going to be playing Lugia V-Star. So very, very exciting match coming to you soon, Sean.
yeah, do you want to just get into it, Jake? See what round one's going to look like?
Let's get into it. The players are about to put out their prizes and we will be underway. It's going to be an interesting matchup as well because Lost Box, being a very aggressive deck, always has to look out for Cragalanche, discarding cards off the opponent's deck. But Lost Tina doesn't work exactly like Kyogre, so we may not run into that problem. But Sean, what do these prizes look like?
I mean, I think the prizes are pretty straightforward here. I think the one path to the peak from Andre, the reigning champions deck, could be impactful against, Lugia. Path to the peak is just really rough for Lugia, especially since Lugia has one of their own stadiums in the prizes. So I think that, and, you have one Sableye less that's in your prizes, but you can get that out with the Hisuian Heavy Ball. So, it's always fun.
As long, because a lot of Lost Zone Giratina decks are usually playing like 3 or so Path to the Peaks in my experience and what I've seen prior to this tournament. So we'll see if he's playing 2 or 3 in this one. But Looks like it's going to be a fun match underway. Can Andre Scuball get through day one and repeat as a world champion? The players are now flipping over their Pokemon. It looks like Andre Flores is going first, starting. What's he starting? The Squawkabilly. Now, that is not something we have really seen a ton of, I feel like, in Lugia VSTAR. This new card in Paldea Evolved, utilizing its ability with the Squawk and sees discarding your hand and drawing 6 cards if it is your first turn of the game. And we see Andre Flores using that Jet Energy to get up. Is it surprising, Sean, to see a Jet Energy to the Tyranitar right away?
A little bit. But I mean, I guess that's who you want the energy on. You don't really want to have to waste an energy retreating the Squawkabilly later. So that Tyranitar, you get a few single strike energies on there. You can knock out a Giratina VSTAR. So, but I think when we looked at the discard there, the important bit, and the reason you love Squawkabilly is, you might be able to get those, whatchamacallits, the Archeops into the discard more quickly. There didn't look like there were any Archeops in the hand. So it was an instant Squawkabilly. This hand is unplayable garbage. There might have been, I think, maybe one Lugia VSTAR in there as well. So
we did see off the Capturing Aroma, I believe that's what got the Archeops. So getting it in hand, especially for the research that they get in hand next turn, and hitting the heads off of the Mesagoza. Mesagoza, a stadium card. You flip a coin once during your turn, and if you get heads, you search for a Pokemon. This is the perfect opportunity to get Lugia V down. This is almost a perfect turn for Andres Flores.
I will say he needed that Mesagoza. That hand, he had the V-Star. He did not have any way to get a basic. So if he missed that, that's a quick scoop, I feel, if you whiff your Lugia turn 1.
Now, there is potential going into Andre Scuball's turn. Sometimes Lost Tina decks do play that one Iono, so knowing that there is an Archeops in Andres Flores' hand, Scuball may just go for, I mean, I would assume that they would want to Colress experiment as always, but I guess there's always that possibility of what you got. So Andre Scuball just checking his prizes, knowing what his energy counts are, Pokemon counts, everything like that. So Sean, Andres Flores had a pretty good turn 1. So what does you feel like a pretty good turn 1 look like for Lost Tina?
I mean, against this matchup, I actually think you want to obviously get the Giratina out of the active, because there is it's always possible. Lugia, like if they have the Lugia, they have the V-Star in hand, that. If they get one Archeops down, that Giratina in the active spot is going to be dead, and you'll be down 2 prizes before turn 2. So getting that out of the active, throwing a Comfy, getting your engine running, I think that's your priority over trying to disrupt that turn 1 play. And if you really can, finding a path to the peak. We know 1 is prized, but if you can find a path and get a Comfy in the active, I think you can start to feel a lot safer. Now, you never know, right? But so I think this is interesting. Grabbing another Giratina just in case the 1 is stranded in the active, maybe.
We did see at least one other path to the peak in Andres Scuball's deck off of the other Battle VIP pass, not the one that he's playing right now for the Greninja and the Comfy. He did grab that Spiritomb. Spiritomb is a card that we see on and off in the Lost Zone Giratina decks, really just shutting off Lumineon V, a lot of it. Lumineon V, perfect for getting something like a turn Burnett or Professor's Burnett, discarding the Archeops really easily. So just having Andres Flores work for it a lot. But I think this grabbing the second Giratina, just really acknowledging the power, and especially the turn that Andres Flores had, knowing that he's got an Archeops in his hand, and Andres Scuball can't do anything about it, saying, you know what, if you knock that out, sure, but I'm going to be able to get another Giratina V-Star out in response after that.
I mean, the question here, though, does he have a switching out for Andre Scuball?
Well, he is going to use this Colress right here, so we'll see in the 5 cards what happens, and it looks like there is an escape rope on that 5th card. So with the Battle VIP pass and a Comfey, that's a very easy Lost Zone, bringing Andre Scuball to 2 in the Lost Zone. There's a Jet Energy as well in the hand.
That's
so
nice.
I can't remember if that was in his starting hand or if that was in based off of the based off of the concealed cards on the Radiant Greninja. But remember, on Escape Rope, when you play, your opponent has to bring up a Pokemon on the turn. Andre Scuball knew what he was going to bring up, but
Yeah,
I guess there was a sort of choice that Andres Flores would make. So now 3 in the Lost Zone, putting away a Psychic Energy.
I will say, he gets the Path to the Peak, though, off that.
And that is huge, as Sean was saying. Remember, there is a collapsed stadium in Andres Flores' prize card, so that's one less stadium to find in the game. Now, there is a little bit of draw in... Oh, and going into the Giratina, so banking off the path, saying, you know what? Oh, there's another path. So I had 2 paths in the deck. Decided to bring up the Giratina, use the Abyss Seeking attack. And for those of you not familiar with that attack, look at the top 4 cards, put 2 in your hand and put 2 in the Lost Zone. So going to put up Andre Scuball to 5 in the Lost Zone, passing it off to Andre Flores' turn.
Now, I will say what's important to note here, Jake, is yes, he has Collapse Stadium in the prizes, but he also played a Mesa Goza on his turn. So 2 of his stadiums are down there for Andres Flores, which... We know that there's not one in hand, right? With the Spiritomb, it's going to be really hard to find, a supporter that you might want. I see a boss in the hand. Is there a research in that hand?
I thought there was a research last turn, but maybe the research was just because of the Squawkabilly, like before Squawkabilly's Squawkensees. There we get a good look at the hand. There is Professor's research. There's so many different arts of them now at this point, Sean.
Jake, there's a Luminion. It's like Andre could see Andre's hand and was like, yeah, this Spiritomb's coming down right now.
And so now what Andres Flores is looking for, he's looking for another collapse stadium, but no stadium in that hand. So what you got to do, I guess, as Andres Flores is you got to put another Lugia down, which is another 2 prize Pokemon, just ready for Andre Scuball to just attack and say, all right, if you gust up, you get the 280 KO off Lost Impact on there. At least potentially I can Summoning Star the next turn. But Spiritomb putting in a lot of work there. Spiritomb and Path to the Peak putting in a lot of work there, not letting him Luminion at all. And even if he did get that counter stadium, right, he still can't use Luminion. So it's just very awkward situation right now with Andres Flores, and one of the reasons why, like myself at least, really did not like Lugia going into this match.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit tough for Andre Flores because your worst nightmare is Path to the Peak, right? And there's not a ton of decks that really play a heavy count to Path to the Peak, but Lost Box Tina is one of them. It's like, ooh, that's a tough round one.
Just decides to pass the turn off to Andre Scuball. Andre Scuball has the world in his hands. Really trying to think, because you don't want to get too crazy as the Lost Tina player. You do have a finite amount of resources, and one of the big reasons why this deck is so good is that players are very good at managing those resources. So you can see him right here just kind of planning out his turn little by little. He's going to attach the energy right there. He may not have a way to move this Giratina out of the active, so it may just be best to just Abyss Seeking yet again and just getting more into Lost Zone, going up to 7.
Yeah, I think that is kind of what he's looking at, because that Giratina VSTAR, if he were to go into that attack, right, you have to discard 2 energy to do it. At this point, you has no way to get a Sableye onto the field right now either. So he is going to have a hard time taking this game by only attacking with the Giratina V too early. So I guess he's hoping that the path just sticks for an extra turn. And then maybe you just go in with the Shred attack, honestly.
It
so
could
you're
be
not
another
discarding.
one of those things. It's one of those things, though, that, looking at the top 4 cards, getting 7. Now, Rajgate is in access. Now, you can be a little bit more aggressive with your energies in terms of using... Well, he can't use concealed cards with Path to the Peak, but off the Abyss Seeking, he did find a Colress Experiment, so there's a little bit more draw to try to find that Giratina VSTAR. And Andres Flores just putting down that Ultra Ball now in his turn, just really trying to look to see what he can do. Grabbing an Archeops there. I don't know if he has another research in hand that he can use to get it in the discard. Probably counting up his stadiums as well, thinking, man, do I have another stadium in the deck right now, just double checking his prizes potentially and looking to retreat, bringing up the Lugia. And I think he's going to read the wind.
Yes.
Read the wind, discarding a card. And then I believe it's draw 3 cards off of that. So Andres Flores, we're getting a little bit more information on his deck with that camera angle, playing the Radiant Serena and also the single strike version, Sean.
Interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, the single strike version, because of the Tyranitar, is not wildly surprising. The Radiant Serena, though, is interesting. Does that reduce damage that you take? Is that what that one does?
It heals. So every turn you can heal all your Pokemon for 20 damage. And Andre Scuball, he's got that Giratina VSTAR. He slapped that VSTAR down, attached that energy, and he is ready to go. Getting the Mirage Gate going, looking at his options as well. Do I load up this Giratina, right, with more energies to be able to back-to-back attacks in some form or fashion? Do I start loading up the bench one? Is there ever a reason to use Greninja? Maybe not, and he's looking like he's powering up that Lost Tina with that Psychic and Water energy. Remember, Mirage Gate, if you have 7 or more cards in the Lost Zone, you can use that item card and you can accelerate 2 different basic energies onto your Pokemon in any way you'd like. So the double Mirage Gate throwdown, this is the dream as a Lost Box player, just getting 2 Mirage Gates down on your field as soon as you hit 7. Just feels so good, sets up your board state so well, cleaning out your deck of some cluttered energies to be able to find some very, very important cards. And Andre Scuball is very much in the driver's seat right now. We could see, like, after Andre Scuball's next turn, a scoop from Andre Flores, because this is a best of 3. These are timed rounds. There's about 38 minutes left in this round, and Lost Box decks go, take a little bit of time, as you were saying earlier. So you definitely, I mean, if you go down 1 game, you definitely don't mind a tie. But knowing that Andre Scuball is playing some pretty good Path to the Peak and also Spiritomb, very much almost countering Lugia to an extent, could be very interesting in terms of how he plays out the time.
Honestly, if I'm Andre, I'm looking at all of this going, okay, you don't have any other attacker right now, though. All you have is this Giratina VSTAR, and granted, 3 attacks will get you there. But the question that I would be looking at if I'm Andre is, hey, I'm going to make you manage these resources, because each time you attack, it's going to cost you 2 energy that you can never get back. So how much energy do you got? Right? Like, can you get 3 attacks off with this Giratina VSTAR?
It's very interesting, and it's very manageable, though, because, you have your 1 attack for, and you get to choose as well. So that's one of those things. Andre Scuball just using Lost Impact. And again, Lost Impact, you got to put 2 energies in the Lost Zone, but you get to choose which energies. So now, after that Colress experiment as well in the turn, Andre Scuball is over 10. So he is going to be able to use Star Requiem, but not before potentially Andres Flores puts down that Mesa Goza, and he's definitely, he's flipping over that V-Star marker, immediately slapping those guys down on the bench and down 2 prizes. He's got a dream in this game. He is still alive, going to be able to use the Archeops ability to accelerate special energies on to the probably Tyranitar, I would think, because that with is it 4?
No, you can accelerate 4 energy total. You put 2 onto it. Does cost 4 energy though, so he's got 2 darkness, 1 colorless. He can grab another one there. I believe is that the gift energy or the V guard?
It is the gift energy. So 2 energies of the single strike energy is all you need to be able to hit 280 and a knockout on the Lost Zone Giratina. And gift energy really good in Lugia. We saw gift energy very, very well done in Reggie's, just being able to just fill your hand back up when Pokemon get knocked out. So very, very nice, especially if after an Iono as well. If you can even Iono yourself into a small hand and have a couple options with that. So now, Andres Flores going to be going down even prizes probably at the end of this turn, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting one, right? He takes out the Giratina, right? You follow up, you can knock out the Tyranitar pretty easily. You can even use the V-Star attack if you're Giratina now, because you have 11 in the Lost Zone. Knock out that knock out the Tyranitar. The question is, though, do you want to use it on that, or do you hold it in case he finds a V-Guard energy for that Lugia? So maybe you do the 280 instead.
I think you don't necessarily need to worry as Lost Tina because that squawk ability is in play. Now, if a collapsed stadium comes out, which is why the Yveltal on the bench by Andres Flores is a big deal, because now if Andres Flores finds a collapsed energy, maybe gets it off his prizes he did get from this knockout, he's going to be able to get that squawk ability off the field. And as you were saying on that V-Guard energy, he's going to be able to get those V-Guard energies on there. So looks like Andre Scuball's got a decision to make. Go up with the Giratina and maybe attack with it, or maybe do a little bit more digging with the come phase, depending on what he's got in his hand. He's really thinking about what he needs to do, and he's going to promote that Giratina V-Star.
Yeah,
I was going to say, if he looks at the top card, can he take it back and change? I don't know. But he's going to be able to get the Giratina V down, which is huge in this. I don't know if he just top decked it or not, but that's a big deal because now he can follow up with another Giratina V-Star if the one in the active happens to get knocked out. And Andre Scuball, is he playing 4 Giratina Vs?
I mean, I feel like we've seen, what, 2? 3? We've seen 3 of them for sure. So he might be playing 4. Oh, he's seen 4. Yeah, because he's got one in his hand. Is that his discard or his hand? That's his hand, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so it looks like he does
very
have 4.
Interesting playing 4. That's not something that I've seen a ton of in this.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to think through now, like, what if I'm Andre, you need the Giratina out because, to your point, if that collapsed stadium comes down, gets rid of the squawk ability, Sableye is not going to be able to get you the cleanup damage you need. Everything there is just a little too big. Same thing goes for the Greninja. Only he's doing 90 damage. So setting up another Giratina V-Star, getting 1 energy attached onto it, then perhaps doing 280, knocking out the Tyranitar, having 1 energy on each Giratina, knowing that whatever is brought up, if it's not a 1-prizer, all you have to do is attach 1 energy for turn, and you can use your V-Star power to knock anything out.
Very, very strong line of play. One of the reasons why the Lost Tina deck has gotten so much hype leading up to the World Championships. Just very flexible and very fast in this meta currently right now. So Andre Scuball just really considering all of his options. He used Colress Experiment, now has 13 in the Lost Zone. We don't really need to count as much in his Lost Zone, but looking like he's going to use Super Rod, laying down some energies and that Giratina V-Star. There he goes. He's got that Super Rod right there. Thinking about going to be using it, and what do I put back in there? There's definitely a lot of options. Very nice, though, that those energies were discarded off the Giratina and not put in the Lost Zone, because now Mirage Gate, as you can see right there, can be accelerated on that bench Tina.
Now, what's going to be interesting to see here, I mean, this Tyranitar is going down. The question is, if I am Andre Flores, that deck is looking mighty thin, and I know that there's 1 resource in there that my opponent's going to need. I don't know if you can do this in the follow-up, but, like, boy, howdy, you kind of want to be like, can I discard the Giratina V-Star with a Kragwitch?
I just don't think so, because then you don't knock out the dude. So no Balelba and Bryson Man in this format, Sean. That card is gone forever. And attaching the Jet Energy to the active, probably hitting the Lost Zone. So then both Giratinas can have 2 energies on them. And Andre Scuball really looking good in this driver's seat. 31 minutes to go in this Swiss round 1. And there we go. There's the knockout on the Kragalanche. He just drew a card for turn. He didn't promote a Pokemon. Yeah, Andres Flores just drew for turn and didn't. Oh no, Gift Energy. I think Gift Energy activated. Sean
activates first.
I'm sorry,
fair.
we were not. Yeah,
we both were like, wait, what?
A hand of 6 and 7 looks very similar from this angle. But anyways, now drawing for turn, promoting that Yveltal. It is going to be Yveltal attacking potentially. Maybe trying to use it. Definitely not using Single Strike Wings. Probably going to be trying to use Dark Cutter. I guess, I mean,
No.
the only line of play you have, I feel like, from Andres Flores is just knocking out this active Giratina V-Star and hoping they don't get another one. Maybe using Iono, maybe using Roxanne, something of a disruption factor, and using whatchamacallit, the Collapse Stadium potentially to get the Squawkabilly off the bench. Although I guess, I mean, if you're going to put Tyranitar down and that's your game plan, but looking like accelerating to the Yveltal, so there's going to be no Tyranitar attacking in this one. This is just an awkward spot as well. 2 single strike energies in the hand. Andres Flores, what are you going to do on here? You're going to have to take, if you don't take this V or V-Star, you're going to have to take 2 more knockouts after this.
Well, so this is the thing though, right? Like it's again a resource management game. Sableye can't come down. So it's like, are you going to use your V-Star attack to kill a Yveltal? Like, to be honest, at this point,
all it takes is boss now from Andre Scuball, and there it is. There's the boss. Yeah. Andres Flores is going to scoop in a dominant game 1, it looked like, by Andre Scuball. So if you're Andres Flores, Sean, what could you maybe do differently in that game? If anything,
not have to skip a turn with Path. That's
yeah, exactly.
Honestly.
Sometimes that's just how it goes. Path to the Peak, a very strong stadium card, you know, disrupts a lot of abilities right now with Gardevoir EX, Arceus V-Star, Lumineon V, and Lugia V-Star. And then all Radiant Pokemon as well. Not only the Greninja that we were seeing on Andre Scuball's side, but also stuff like the Radiant Serena, Radiant Charizard as well can be a popular pick this year in Lost Box decks. So we're going to see 28 minutes left, though.
Yeah, I think that the biggest challenge with that first match is that Andres Flores did not get an easy way to find Lugia turn 1. He squawkabillied, he was digging, he didn't find it, and the only way to get the Lugia was the Mesa Gosa. Having to play your stadium turn 1 going first, I feel like is always a bad idea, because
especially in a deck that has Path to the Peak.
Well, exactly, because that's exactly what we saw. He has to play it. If you can just hold on to that, use it on the second turn, then you can go get out an Archeops. If you don't need to use it, but yeah, he just had a really awkward, I think, first 15 or 16 cards in his hand. So I think that's what he's really hoping for, is that his opening hand is a little less punishing.
Did we happen to see the prizes, Sean? We were in such a great discussion about
I don't think they showed
game
them.
1 and improvements into game 2, but game 2 is probably just about underway. Players setting up, and it looks like they are underway. Oh wait, no, that was a replay. I was gonna say, are the prizes. Sorry, we don't have a good communication with the production team at this point. But how does this look for you, Sean?
I mean, a Giratina V-Star prize could be a problem, but we also see a Tyranitar prize. But it looks like I believe Andre has 2 Tyranitar in his deck. Yes, he's going through the deck. We saw a second one there. So, and he started one of the Lugia already. So I would say you're already in a much better spot if you are Andre. Getting
Especially,
the Squawkabilly, oof.
Yeah, and I mean, especially when they started Sableye as well. You kind of like that as the Lugia player, Andres Flores, because, you know, we saw Andre Scuball. He's able to Abyss Seeking, build up his Lost Zone prior when he started Giratina, but that is not going to be the case, at least looking at this. And so if you're Andres Flores, you're like, okay, this hand, ooh, he just flashes discard pile right there. A lot of energies in there, and no Urshifu as well. So Urshifu not going to be an option in this matchup. That probably VMAX would be like your final hitter if you were going to use it, but hitting heads on that Mesagoza, going to be finding another basic Pokemon. What do you grab here? Do you grab another Lugia V? Do you grab Tyranitar? Lumineon, maybe getting a Burnett in hand.
Yeah, I think he's getting it before the Spiritomb comes down. Just getting, our research is fine because we saw his hand. His hand has 2 Archeops in it. So the thought there is like, hey, I know that you're going to prioritize Colress going first. So I'm just going to go ahead, grab the Lumineon, get the research out, and tell you to Iono me instead of playing your own Colress on turn 1. And obviously, Andre is not going to take that. So just trying to guarantee as much as possible that he draws into it. Now, he did have to use a stadium to get that, which is exactly the thing we talked about last time, which is like, you're using a stadium turn 1. Is this ideal? Also, Andre Flores has 2 bench sitters that are of no use in Luminion and Squawkabilly. So Collapse Stadium is only going to help you so much now.
It's interesting too. I wonder, we do not have access to these players' deck lists at the World Championships, but I wonder if because of Squawkabilly, Andres Flores is not playing Professor's Burnett in his list. We didn't see Professor's Burnett in game 1, a very popular card in Lugia, but it would make sense, not getting it off of the Luminion if he just wasn't playing it, because you have Squawkabilly to be a little bit aggressive in there and maybe just leaning more towards the draw. But Andre Scuball getting a VIP rip turn 1 after hitting tails on the Mesagoza yet again. He has not had too much luck with Mesagoza in this game, but it's not his stadium, so I guess it's okay then. But going to be getting the Greninja and Comfey, looking to potentially draw some cards and get his Lost Zone going.
Yeah,
this will be the concealed cards. What are you looking forward to, Sean? Sorry.
Well, it was interesting. He chose to grab Draw Engine over any sort of Giratina there. I saw he was eyeing up the Giratina, but knowing that your opponent has a research in hand and went and specifically got that out, you're like, oh, okay, he definitely has the Archeops, but no way to discard it. And assuming I'm not going to get rid of his hand, it's that awkward moment of like, do I put the Giratina down now, or do I try to play instead that single prizer game, setting up those, oh my gosh, having to play this down when you have the Greninja.
There's another hand, 1 path to the beacon, and Iono probably grabbing that research. Andres Flores did signal, just like you were saying, Andres Flores was saying to Andre Scuball, hey, you're going to have to Iono me instead of building up your Lost Zone. So we're going to see how that plays out for Andres Scuball in game 2, of this best of 3 series. But putting down the double Tina right there. Let's see, just attaching an energy right here. Let's see if he does have a switch card, going to be using the Abyss Seeking attack. We have seen this a record number of times, I feel like, Sean, in a stream game. Abyss Seeking is the name of the game, and so going to be deciding between 4 cards, how many are going to be put in the hand, 2 in the hand, 2 in the Lost Zone. Going to be building him up to 3, getting him closer to that magical 7 to be able to use Mirage Gate, but it's going to take a lot to hit 7 next turn. So Andre Scuball really hoping that Path to the Peak sticks.
Interesting, prioritizing the Mirage Gate over the Jet Energy there. So you're kind of just committing to not getting to use Comfy again for a minute. And also, I will say, this is a big risk. Moving in with the Giratina, that you probably put, some good resources on the bottom of Andre Flores' deck, but you are putting this Giratina at a risk if your opponent has any way of breaking the path lock, grabbing the Archeops, getting him into the discard. It's a tall order, but it's possible.
Andres Flores hitting heads on the Capturing Aroma to be able to go get an Archeops in his hand, and now using a Nest Ball. Looking at that Tyranitar there, I do think Tyranitar is probably your best option at this point. I didn't get to see his hand. I don't know if he's got a research or anything Ultra Ball to discard the Archeops. Looks like he is going to be back in.
Yeah, there might be an Ultra Ball, yeah. And a research, actually.
And a research, so a great hand for Andres Flores. And I don't think the Squawkabilly had any supporters in the hand turn 1. So very interesting by Andres Flores not to use the Ultra Ball and discard the boss because he's got Palpat in the hand. If he's going to use a research, maybe potentially using the Ultra Ball to discard the boss, he could get that back. But are you targeting anything other than the attacking Giratinas that are hitting you? I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. So we'll see where this research takes him.
Yeah, I don't know if you even want to put more cards in, because the thing that you need now is a stadium. 2 supporters back into the deck, even though boss is really useful. If that means you don't draw into a stadium, that would be terrible. But it looks like he does hit a stadium here.
He hits the Mesa goes. Andres Flores just getting real good draws in here, drawing the stones. Consistency indeed. We know he's playing at least 3 in the Collapse Stadium and at least 2 Mesa Gozas. Do we know if he's playing 4 stadiums?
Oh, that was so lucky, Jake. Jake, he did not have
heads.
He did not have a Lugia VSTAR or any way to get it in his hand. So yes, the Mesa Goza is great to bump the path, but oh my god, if it had been a Tails, that would have been so sad.
And so here's going to be the Summoning Star bringing out the Archeops. Now we'll have to see how the energy acceleration and attachments go, because with the energy acceleration, it was huge that Andres Flores got the V-Guard energy attached to the Lugia turn 1, because if he wants to get like a KO with the Tyranitar, right, he's going to need to retreat this guy, but it doesn't look like he's going to do that. He's going to accelerate into the Lugia VSTAR, looking like it's going to come in. And I wonder, is he going to discard the Mesa Goza? I would think so, right?
I mean, yeah, why bother, right? You don't want your opponent to have it at this point.
Tempest Dive getting exactly 220 damage to knock out the Giratina, and Andre Scuball is not going to be able to respond with a V-Star knockout. He's going to have to just go around, probably. What is he going to do? He's going to escape rope, maybe? Get around that? I don't think you waste your energies. There's no way he's going to get 10 in the Lost Zone.
Probably not. I don't know if he has some sort of a Lost Vacuum play, maybe. But outside of that, if he has a way to find another Comfy, you could get 10 into the Lost, 7 into the Lost Zone, but this is not looking great for Andre, because now your opponent is completely set up. Even if you can start taking knockouts, you've given up 2 prizes. The only thing taking knockouts on your side is going to be Giratina at this point. And you just lose the race.
It'll be interesting now, moving up to 6 in the Lost Zone. Andre Scuball really deciding what he's going to want to do. Slaps down another Giratina, not a Comfey. Probably, saying, all right, I wonder if he's going to Abyss Seeking. There's no way, right? No, he just passes over to Andres Flores, and Andres Flores pulling out the boss. Yep. And Andre Scuball just scoops, says, you know what? We only have a little bit of time left, less than 18 minutes left in Swiss round 1. We're tied 1-1, Sean, going into game 3.
I mean, honestly, like I said, that one came down to Andre Flores did not have to take a turn off with Path, and it was close, right? Like, Andre Scuball had the Iono to get rid of those Archeops. He had the Path to the Peak. Now, and he did take the risk, right? He was like, I'm going to put that Giratina in the active, and hopefully you don't get it, but, it did not work out that way in game 2.
Andres Flores getting that huge heads, remember, on the Mesa Goza to get that Lugia VSTAR and use Summoning Star to basically put him in the driver's seat for the game. So we'll see. I don't know. It feels like really, really close matchup. We've seen 2 games just really sway both sides. Who do you think comes out in game 3, Sean?
I mean, I want to say Andre Scuball comes out in game 3 because he'll be going first. I really think going first here, because like the Lugia player, they're going to be a little bit behind the 8 ball to start. And what do you leave in the active if you are the Lugia player and you're worried about Andre Scuball having an attack going first on the second turn? You can't leave a Lugia in the active. You don't want to waste a bench space and like put like what a Yveltal in the active or something. Like it all feels bad. So if Andre Scuball is able to have a slightly more turbo start to the game, get to that 7 energy and Mirage Gate, that's going to be the question, right?
Now, this is interesting. Looking at this at first glance for Andres Flores, the double turbo energy might not seem like a huge deal, only 1 energy, but Andres Flores, we got a kind of a glimpse of his hand at first. He has like 3 energies in his hand and a research Lugia and a bunch of energies. So started that Lugia, it's gonna be tough. I feel like for Andres Flores in this game, like you kind of mentioned, there's a path to the peak right there.
It's tough for Andres Scuball
every time. Yeah, every time turn 1, and Andres Scuball he doesn't have 6.
He has a terrible hand too.
Yeah,
No,
he's not looking good, but he's got flower selecting. Flower selecting, all he needs is one top deck there to really get going in this game. And I think, did Andre Scuball pass?
no, that's what I
It
was
looks
saying,
like he
Jake.
passed, and yeah,
Yeah, Jake, he had nothing in hand. He had one Lost Zone
I
with
didn't
the
even
Comfy,
realize.
nothing else in hand, no Giratina turn one. I think it comes down to, is Andre Flores, is he able to get anything going? Now, with the Spiritomb on the field, that Luminion's doing nothing.
He's got
So,
Iono in hand, as I thought he had a research in hand. Does he not?
no.
Maybe he discarded it off in Ultra Ball or something that he got in hand, but gonna be putting away at least one Archeops in here. And here what is the research doing? Oh, he discarded his hand and drew a new
Oh, he
hand. Got it.
researched,
Got it.
right.
Anyways, now looking around for a Pokemon of his choice. Is he going to be able to get another Archeops, or is he going to go for like a Lugia V-Star in his hand? You saw that Andre Scuball only had one in the Lost Zone in his last turn. So honestly, you're probably not going to get Iono'd like last game, right? It did not have a great start there.
Yeah, I mean, Andre Flores knows that Andre Scuball has nothing, and he has an Iono for next turn. He can hold on to that. Yeah, grabbing another Lugia, I think, is nice. Just sort of setting some things up that can evolve if need be. Not particularly great, so he'll draw some cards by discarding that. He drew into a
Read the
stadium.
win. He drew into Messagoza. I don't know. I guess Andre Scuball would probably play the Path to the Peak in this. He's curious about, and it looks like he's going to Lost Zone and Mirage Gate. No telling. It looks like Giratina gonna slap down the double Giratina, and looks like he might just Abyss Seeking in this, which is not good. Gonna have to Abyss Seeking potentially and pray with that Path to the Peak, only to find out that there's a Messagoza in the hand to counter that Stadium Summoning Star and get a knockout on the Giratina V. Not looking good for the former world champion, the reigning world champion in this one, but there's still plenty of time, still plenty of Pokemon. 13 minutes left in Swiss round one, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically game 2 all over again. The only difference is Andre had to skip a turn. So, because it's like he's making the same play, which is, I'm going to hope that I throw this path down. I'm going to take the risk with the Giratina. But we know Andre Flores has the stadium. Now, the question is, does he have the Lugia? Now, if he hits a heads, this is going to be he has the Iono, though, so he can also dig for it.
He's got a bunch of draw. He's got a lot of opportunity, but there is some justification on not using. Definitely going to go with that research there, because your opponent has not had good draws and hits another heads off of the Messagoza. Just roll the dice the right way. Just hit heads forehead, and that has been Andres Flores in this match, setting himself up to where if he hits heads, that's all he needs. Going to be using that Summoning Star and getting 1 and 2 Archeops down to Primal Turbo and get this knockout, Sean.
Yeah, this is a rough one, because it's nice that he didn't have to use the research to find it, because then you could have drawn into a bunch of those energy you need to be able to get, right? You saw that he discarded a bunch, I believe, earlier in the turn.
In the first turn, yeah.
Yeah, so this is more ideal. Not needing to. Is that a V-Guard? Is there a V-Guard energy on there? Yeah, 1.
There's a V-Guard, 2 gift, and a therapeutic energy on that Lugia V-Star in the active. Opting on the second Primal Turbo to only attach 1. Remember, with Primal Turbo, you can search up to 2 special energies to attach to your Pokemon, so you can decide 1 if you want to. And it looks like he is going to research, throwing down those cards and drawing a fresh new 7 cards in his hand. Professor's Research, discard, draw 7, one of the best effects in the game, in the history of the game. And so he's just gonna go ahead, hit that Giratina V, discard the Messagoza, so Andre Scuball can't use it. And now Andre Scuball, with only 4 in the prizes, is gonna have to do a little bit of work to get back in this one, Sean.
Yeah, I just don't see it at this point, because the best you can do right now with the board state is get to 7 in the Lost Zone. So what? You go into the Giratina. You can't knock out the Lugia unless you draw a choice belt, I believe. So you're doing 280. That thing is gonna need 300 damage. I think it's maybe a hill too far to climb, if you want my
He's
honest
got
opinion.
He's got 6 in the Lost Zone. Let's see where he goes. He's got a Colress in hand. So that is interesting. Going to eclipse him over that 7 mark, I believe. So was that Super Rod, it looks like? Yeah, putting down that Super Rod, getting a little bit back into the deck. And I mean, I don't know exactly. I mean, you can't Colress and Boss in the same turn, and what I feel like you have to do is knock out the Tyranitar. The Tyranitar is the threat to be able to just one-shot your Giratina V-Stars. So it's looking like it's going to be tough. Got 2 Giratina V-Stars, really asked for Giratina V-Star and got it, but I don't think he has a way to power up the Giratina V-Star off Mirage Gate.
So this is an interesting one. The Cramorant is maybe another option, right? Whereas if you hit with the Cramorant, soften up the Lugia here, then you can knock it out with the Giratina on a subsequent turn. You don't need any resources. And it doesn't really change the prize math all that much. You open up your opponent being able to boss around a Giratina V-Star, but I don't know. It's not as impactful, I don't think. So if he has a way to get into this Cramorant out of the active, yeah, there we go. So that's the yeah, thinking about it. Yeah, just softening up this Lugia, knowing that you're not going to be able to take the knockout, even if you could get the energy on.
It's interesting. He's not looking too optimistic about this one. Yeah, but I mean, it's game 3. You can't scoop, right? You got to try to play to your outs, because if you scoop, you lose Swiss round 1, and you never know if Andre feels like he's got an out. He's got to play to it. So there we go. 2 energies right there on that Mirage Gate. And it looks like he's going to spit innocently for 90 damage. Is it 90 or 80 after the V-Guard energy? 110.
V-Guard only stops.
Yeah, yeah. Got it.
Yeah. So yeah,
too many effects.
It's well within range now of that Giratina. The weird thing though, the Giratina with the Mirage Gate choosing to get a grass and a water energy. I'm not entirely.
It's interesting. He's got a Psychic in hand, and so if you think about it, if he's going to potentially well, actually, I don't even know. You don't have another
Giratina Psychic in hand.
Down. Yeah, so I mean, you don't have it. Yeah, and he discarded 1 earlier, I believe. So that might be all of his Psychics in the deck, because you only play 3, maybe 4 of them in Lost Zone Giratina list. So Andre Screwball, I don't know. It feels like he's got to play for the tie now.
I mean, 7.5 minutes, but neither of these decks is going to play that slow.
7.5 minutes and 3+ turns. Probably not, as you're saying, Sean. And Andres Flores starting to power up that Tyranitar V now for the Cragalanche to be able to just whack into the Giratina V-Star with multiple single strike energies. He's just thinking about what he wants to eat before the next round. Over here, puts down the Yveltal, gets the Collapsinium as well to discard another Lugia V. No free 2 prizes for you. You're going to have to attack one of my attackers, and Primal Turbo in here. This also prevents any sort of shenanigans from like another Comfey or another Giratina V in Sableye, or any 2 Pokemon combination after this knockout that Andre Screwball could do. So Andres Flores really just playing his best right now.
I will say this is an interesting play, choosing for Andres Flores to go and attach the energies now rather than waiting. The reason I find that particularly interesting is because now you've made this Tyranitar a clear target, right? Like, oh, okay, well, if I have the chance to knock it out next turn, should I do that? And the answer is heck yes. Like if I attach 1 energy and have a boss in hand, that's my target, because your Lugia can't knock me out. I'm not worried about Lugia. So I do think it's interesting choosing to use those resources now. I'm not sure why you felt.
Oh no. Oh, Andres Flores. He played down the Archeops thinking he was using a capturing aroma, because he had, oh no, Andres Flores doing an illegal deck search technically. Oh, it looks like the judges might be letting him fix the game state. That is good. That is good.
Okay.
Putting down another one. That is nice. I'm glad that the judges are doing that. You know, he had both
he had
of
it in the
those
hand.
capturing aromas. Yeah, I'm very happy that this game is not being decided by a judge call. But anyways, going into it, forgetting about it, you know, now getting Tyranitar V. Not going to be able to put it on the bench because of that collapsed stadium. But I think right now Andres Flores is just thinning his deck.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, he's got the urn, I believe. Does he have an urn of vitality in hand? I don't know. Again, that's why I'm like, boy, howdy. It'll probably be fine for Andre Flores, but I am terrified of them knocking out the, well, now that the Iono is played, you're safe. you're perfectly safe if you're Andre.
Playing that Iono, Andres Flores getting only 3 cards off of this before the start of his turn. And Andre Scubal just drawing into cards. He ended up promoting right away the Giratina VSTAR instead of something like a Comfey. So kind of maybe a little bit telling of what his hand was to start. And he's going to be using Lost Impact, going to reach 10 in the Lost Zone. Now got a couple water energies in there we saw in his Lost Zone, and now it's up to Andres Flores. He's going to be able to return KO, and if you're Andre Scubal, right? If you're Andre Scubal, you just have to hope that there's no other Tyranitar V, right, that comes down. But Andres Flores now in a pretty good position because after taking the knockout, right, on this Giratina V-Star with the Tyranitar V, he's got that Yveltal down. You know, if he's got an Urn of Vitality, going to be able to accelerate the single strike energies on that and knock out something small like a Comfey or the Spirit Tomb for his final prize of the game and win. Start out 1-0 in day 1 of the World Championships.
Yeah, I think there's one play. There's one play, Jake. Andre Scubal, we know, prized 2 Roxanne. If he drew a Roxanne off of that, and he's able to promote the Giratina V, and if Andre goes down to 2 and draws 1, there is the opportunity then that this Yveltal is not going to be able to knock out the oh, there goes
not going to be able to boss up and get the Comfey or one of the little bench sitters that I was mentioning earlier. But Andre Scubal getting a little bit to the recipe of success. He's playing a little bit fast, so I feel like he's somewhat confident of what he's got going on right now off of that Mirage Gate, accelerating to the bench, and going to be using Flower Selecting, getting to 11 in the Lost Zone, seeing what he's got in his hand, seeing what he's got in the Lost Zone. Can't tell what he got, but Nest Ball, you don't need Nest Ball anymore. It's going to be a Jet Energy to promote the Giratina V. Does he have a V-Star in his hand?
Ooh.
And it looks like he's going to Mirage Gate. He's thinning out his deck. Is he got to hit it off of a Colress Experiment?
I think he drew one of the
Roxanne.
I think he drew one of the Roxannes, and that's his only play.
He's got to just lay down as many cards as possible, thin out his deck. Thin out his deck as much as possible. Is interesting. I think he had a Colress Experiment in his hand as well. So, Sean, do you agree with this Roxanne, or do you
100%.
You 100% agree with this Roxanne?
The only way that Andre has a chance in this game is if Andre Flores draws 2 cards plus the 1 he draws for turn, and none of them are boss. That's the only way he wins, because the Yveltal can knock out any of the little babies, but if you can't find a way around it, that is when you have a shot here. So the Roxanne,
here we go. 6 cards for Andre Scubal. He didn't throw down a V-Star right away. He doesn't have it. Did not get the V-Star and scoops it up to Andres Flores with just a minute and a half left in Swiss round 1. Sean, that was a great round 1 to showcase at the Yokohama Pokemon TCG World Championships. Lugia VSTAR taking the win there against the hyped up and probably, you know, the most popular, or one of the most popular decks going into this tournament. Well, Lugia VSTAR being the most popular deck going into this tournament. beating down one of the stronger decks that people were highly regarding in this, and seeing that matchup play out. Has that series changed your kind of thoughts about the matchup a little bit more in terms of the percentages? No? Why do you say that?
I mean, for me personally, I think that one came down to who is going to miss a turn, right? Game 1, Andre, I believe it was, they're both on. Andre Flores missed a turn because of the path to the peak. Game 2, nobody missed a turn, but Andre Flores went first. Game 3, Andre, the reigning champion, missed a turn despite going first, right? He missed that Giratina V in the opening hand.
And then in the final turn of what we saw, he missed the VSTAR as well.
Exactly. So, look, I think that game could have actually gone maybe Andre's way if he had found the VSTAR off of that Roxanne, and if he could have gotten his opponent into a really awkward hand. Because that Archeops, it'll accelerate energy. It thins your deck, but it doesn't do anything more than that, right? So,
and that Spiritomb was on the bench there, so Luminion V completely nullified in that game. That Spiritomb made its way onto the field in every single game.
Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily change the math, but I think it really goes to show just how all of the decks, like both of these decks especially, are very much like, I got to go first and I got to not miss. Every single turn matters because they're trading prizes pretty equally for the most part.
And pretty quickly too.
Yeah, turn 2. I think there was a knockout turn 2 of almost 2 of the 3 games there. So yeah, it's pretty wild. But yeah, Jake, I think that'll wrap it up for this stream. Let us know out there in the comments what you think about this. If you liked it, if you have any feedback for us, we might record more before we even see the feedback. But
I really enjoyed this, and I think it went really well. That was a great round 1 as well to showcase for us, and we'll be providing, whether it's right away or in the next couple days or something like that. Check out the channel. More World Championships are coming your way here in the Pokemon TCG World Championships. Thank you so much to Pokemon for letting creators co-stream over us on the Metapod, allowing us to do that with your new guidelines and rules, and we will see you in the next round.